Welcome. This is Be Heard. My name is Mark Stern. I'm the pastor of adult ministries at Faith Bible Church. And today we're going to be talking about why go to church. So our guests today is Joel Roberts and Colton Clary. Welcome. Welcome.
It's nice to be here.
Yes. So we're going to just jump in there. We'll start with Colton. Why do we attend church? Is it even necessary?
I feel like church really, like, you don't have to attend church to be a Christian. I personally believe that you don't have to attend church. Attending church doesn't make you a Christian. Your relationship with Jesus Christ and God, that's what makes you a Christian first and foremost. But I feel like as a person, we all want to be with people and relate with people. So I feel like church, that's where we get that. Like, me personally, I attend church so I can be with my family, my extended family.
Right.
I started going to church when I was younger. I had a pastor growing up. He would joke, say, hey, my mom said I had a drug problem growing up. My mom would drag me to church. That's what he would say.
Right.
So that's kind of what it was at first I was growing up. Then I got into middle school, and there was a couple of girls that went to this church. So I wanted to go to church where they were at because, that's where the girls were. And then that kind of stuck for a little while. And then now I go because I actually want to see my family, my friends, and all the older people at church that I've really gotten to know. And because it's really good to be able to see them every Sunday morning.
Yeah. Joel, what about you? Is it really necessary to go to church?
I don't think it's necessary to go to church.
Okay.
I think there's value in it, but I think it's one of those things, everyone's going to get something else out of it. I think there's value in having a time when you focus on something higher than yourself, outside of your life and what's happening. And so even just spending an hour a week where you kind of recognize that there's something greater than you and you're kind of reorienting yourself towards a moral, even like that'll help get you through each week. And that but I don't think it's necessary to, like, you don't have to go to church to get that.
Right.
So, like, for me personally, I don't really like church services.
Okay.
They generally do not help me, and they can even frustrate me.
Okay.
And so I have found, for me, it's like, well, I feel like oftentimes they do more harm than good for me. So I have no problem with people who do, but it's like, for me, it's like, I like Sunday school, I like things like that where it's like I can talk and engage about things and kind of try to dig deep. Whereas, like, in a church service, I feel like I just don't get that, and so things will come up and I'm like, well, I want to talk to the person about that, but I can't because we're in like a service, and that just like eats away at me.
So something is preached, you have questions about it, but
Right.
in that environment, you can't really address it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's why I like more of a class where it's like you can like sort through. It's like that person says this, and I'm like, well, my understanding's this, so why are you saying that? And you can kind of sort through and reach. Because I think if you want to know the truth, you need to state what you think, and then you have someone who states, well, I think this, and then you can kind of reach the truth. Because I don't think anyone has is certain on that point. And so it's like you can build, you can talk with each other to reach a better understanding of something. So I think there's value in that.
Okay, so let me ask this. So you talked about family.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about, being able to ask questions, bounce thoughts off another person. So does online services work? Because now you have, with the culture shifting, people don't have time to go to church. Hey, I'll watch it online. Like, is that enough to get the things that you both talked about? Because then it speaks to, is church valuable in actually going to a physical building and being there with other people? So what are we losing with online services, or do we lose anything? Is that enough?
Let Joe go first.
I think that really depends on the person, because everyone, like it's like online online classes, like they can work and you can get a lot out of them. Some people it works, some people it just like things don't make sense to them, like they need to be in an actual like room with have that so I think each person's gonna have a different reaction to that.
Right.
I wouldn't say either is like more or less valuable or useful. Like for me personally, I would rather be in person, because I prefer like to talk with people. It's hard to talk with someone over like email, text, and things, because you lose so much. Like you can read people, just how they say things,
right.
the way things, and so it's hard to talk about very difficult things when you're near a person, and just because they're so complex, like you don't even know exactly what you think about it.
Right.
And when you're trying to explain that, it's really hard. And then trying to do that with like you don't actually see the person, you
right.
can't read them, you can't play off. That just makes it a lot
right.
harder. At the same time, it can be valuable, because if you're writing something, it's like, well, you're taking your time to really think about each thought. I'm going to write it out. That's not what I mean. I'm going to change that. So there can be pros and cons to it. And as far as like the family aspect goes, some people I know have made friends online, and they like that works for them. It's good. Like for me, when people don't live near me, it's hard for me to keep a friendship up, and because I just need to spend time with them.
Yeah,
the online thing
connection.
doesn't work as well. Yeah. So.
Colton, what you?
I would agree with what he said, that it really just varies on the person. As he mentioned, online classes. I've taken a few online classes, and I've taken them because that's the only thing that was offered. And there's a lot of ways you can just get through it without learning anything. You just
right.
you know how to get through the class. So I feel like online services are the same way, kinda. You can watch them, but you don't really get it because you're not there
right.
interacting with people or talking with people. You can't discuss things
right.
and stuff. But I can see why churches are going to that now, because that's just the age we're in now.
Right.
It's just trying to stay relevant with the age. So it does vary, is what I would say also.
Yeah, and I think we kind of lose something when we're doing the online thing. Just like we lose something when we don't know how to interact with people anymore. When we're texting or emailing. There's something about coming to church, being encouraged by the person next to you, being in that environment. I think we draw things from that environment that are not always tangible. We don't really we don't necessarily see it physically, but we're impacted by being around other believers. I think we do lose a little bit when we just go straight to the online services. And also, for example, service. You're not serving. You kind of miss out on that when you're not connected to a church body. So I think it's important. But why don't people actually go to church? Why do you think, like, if non-Christians or people who are Christians and just say, hey, I don't need to go to church, what is usually the reason that people take that stance?
I've heard some stories they've had bad past experiences with church.
Okay.
Just kind of take their whole view of church people, and so it's bad experience. They don't want to go back to it because they've had people that go to church, they're deacons or whatever, and they've done some very, very sinful things, and they're like, well, if they're a deacon at a church, like
right.
that's kind of has a bad message to them.
Right.
And then non-believers, they probably don't want to go because they might feel like they're getting judged by some of the church members. I'm not saying everybody does that,
Right.
but
That's the perception.
that is the perception. Is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
What about you, Joe? What you think?
I think from people I've talked to, and even I feel this way sometimes, is that it feels like it's the same thing over and over again, which can be valuable at times. It's like you need that reoccurring thing in your life to kind of keep you on track, but at the same time it gets to a point where it's like you go, you sit there, you listen to the songs, you listen to someone say kind of the same-ish thing again, and it's like, okay, I did that thing, and I think a lot of people now just feel like it's a waste of time. Like, it's like, you know, I can go online and listen to it, and I've done that on, you know.
So it almost becomes like, it just becomes routine.
Yeah,
It's
it just
something I
becomes routine,
do.
and routine just gets old after a while. You know, you want some change. And I think some churches, like, try to adjust to that change, but you get the people, it's like they don't want change.
Right.
And then, so to me, there's no perfect answer, you
Right.
know, like, because everyone wants something else, and that's why it's like, it's okay if certain people go to one church, certain ones like that. It's like, you don't have to like a certain way a church is done, because most people, you can find what you like.
Right.
And I think too, like, he was saying how people have this negative view of church.
Right.
That's like, I don't want to go be judged by people or have people like trying to convert me, because it's like I might be interested in something, but then you have people trying to like show you this thing, like, here, you know, like, I want you to change in this, and it's like they mean well by it, but it actually just it's people, you're talking about changing very intimate parts of a person's life. It's like the very, like, if they're choosing like you know, you're like, what is my faith? It's like this, it's this, the reason behind what I do, and that's a very like deep and personal thing to someone, and trying to change that or tell someone what they think is wrong, or this, you know, it's like that can be very hard on people. And so I think we have to be very, very careful in how we approach that. And it's not like, so I think just the church sometimes feels a little heavy handed on things, and it's not like always intentional, but it's like you want to be loving, but you don't want to squeeze it.
And I think that's why it's important. You can't, if you're talking about something deep, someone's faith, I don't think that happens online. Like, you're not going to impact that. So I think it actually, to me, it speaks to why we need church. Is that not just the act of being somewhere, but I think the relationship, the things that happen when you connect with other people, I think that's how you get to those deep, the change, the transformation that happens on the inside. And I don't think you really get that like online. That's just kind of my own personal opinion on that. So last question. So people have gravitated to online services. So in return, what we've done is we've kind of changed how we do church. So now it's kind of more, we can dress casual. We have the coffee bars. So we've kind of shifted with the culture. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing or not so good? To try to draw people to come to church, hear the gospel. I mean, should we be doing that?
You want to go first?
I guess there's pros and cons to it, you know, like all things. I think some people like the kind of the trendy, cool things, you know, like the coffee bars and
Right.
that sort of things, whereas some people like the more old school, like, you know, choir, you know, that kind
Right.
of setup. Like, people like different things, so it's one of those things, like, I don't know, because everyone wants something else, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, because it's like you want unity among people, but at the same time we allow for diversity, so it's like you want to achieve both of these things,
Right.
but it's really hard to actually do.
Yep.
So to me, it seems like there's pros and cons, and I think one of the hard things is to figure out how much structure you want to give, because it's like you want to give enough structure that people feel like they get something out of
Right.
it, but you don't want it too much where it's like they feel like they're under some sort of like tyrannical
Right.
rule. So there's a balance there that's
We need
hard
the
to.
balance.
That's yeah.
Colton.
I mean, just first and foremost, you can't please everybody. It's not possible.
Yep.
But with the whole coffee bar and
Even
you know,
the
dressing-
lighting,
yeah,
making the dress casual, all those things.
the coffee bar, I kind of like the idea of it. Like before, I always call it big church. I have Sunday school and big church. That's what I always called it my whole life. And I always liked it when I got out of Sunday school and just before the big church started, just kind of just hanging out, drinking coffee or
Right.
eating leftover donuts. That's always been one of my favorite parts about church. Is not the actual service part, but just going out and just kind of getting to know people like that.
We don't need the word. We just gotta have them donuts.
Exactly. But the dress and casual part, I just think it's like people my age, they don't own suits or anything like that anymore. I personally don't even know how to tie a tie or anything like
Right.
that. And I think it's just like kind of just adjusting to the times. But I would say that like if you're gonna dress nice going out to like, you know, going out somewhere fancy or whatever, you should kind of dress a little bit better going to church because you are there, you know, in God's house, which I don't think it really matters how you dress, but like if you're dressing nice going somewhere else to please other people, I think you kind of should do a little more than what you would normally do as you go to church.
Right. So we don't want to be too focused on, like it speaks to your heart and why you're here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's important to look your best, but at the same time, that's not our focus. We're not
Yeah.
trying to impress people and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So kind of like a closing thought, in Hebrews, I think it's in chapter 10, verse 25, it talks about that we're not supposed to, forsake the assembling of ourselves together. So we're instructed, encouraged, exhorted to do it for a reason. There's an encouragement. There's something that happens when you're connected to the body. And so even though we have our different reasons for not doing it, at the end of the day, we're supposed to do it. And so I encourage, if you're a believer out there and you're struggling with going to church, for whatever reason, it's important. The Bible instructs us, encourages us to do it, so we should do it. So thank you guys. I appreciate your time. I enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for joining us at Be Heard.
All right. Thanks for having us.